What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Instagram. Welcome on in, guys. Welcome on in. Wow, I am looking rough on the YouTube tonight. It has been a long day, long week, but we are finally here recapping the final chapters of House of Hilton. It is a good one. If you have not read House of Hilton, we did do Bravo Book Club. We did have a 5-week-long book club. This is week 5, and we went through the entire Hilton history. We have now concluded all 29 chapters, and we'll be breaking down those last couple of chapters tonight. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Kelly. Hi, guys. Hi. Hi, Naya. Hi, Jazz. Yes, it's our final week of Bravo Book Club. We will be breaking down the last few chapters, and here we get into the end of Nikki Hilton and the beginning of Paris Hilton, and when her empire started to build. Yes, it's not final book club ever, Alicia. Come on, just final book club for House of Hilton. We will do more books if you guys want to vote on what you want our next Bravo Book Club book to be. God, I am looking real rough on the YouTube tonight. I don't know if it's the lighting or my skin is just really dry. I need like some lotion or something. It doesn't look as bad on the Instagram, but I am looking rough tonight on the YouTube. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sure you'll drag me in the comments as you do every week. But yes, more book club, please. Yes, Naya, we definitely will. Hi, Melanie from Brookfield. What's going on here? You look great. Thank you. I appreciate that, Melanie. All right, guys. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Christopher. Okay. So we have a lot to break down. We're going to get into Nikki Hilton and basically the end of Nikki Hilton. I guess it's fair to kind of say that. We have chapters 22 to 29. They were long, so sorry, guys. I had to actually read this since there's no Audible. What is going on? Somebody is like doing freaking repairs. I don't know if it's upstairs or next door or what they're doing. Someone's trying to build a hole through the wall, and our apartments are very, very dark. How's Adam? Adam's great, Tyler. How's Zach? Zach's doing great too. Okay, I rambled on enough. Sorry, guys. It's been a long day, long week, but let's get into it. My favorite. What time is X Girls Club premiering on Thursday? I believe it drops at midnight on Thursday. So, Arif, you should be all ready. As soon as it hits, you should be getting it. Okay, let's get into it. Chapter 22, House of Hilton. So here we get into Nick's marriage to, the next few chapters are really about a string of his relationships. Chapter 22, we get him and Elizabeth Taylor are done at this point. They're divorced. They're moved on. You know, their whirlwind romance has ended, which we all know from what we learned last week was more of a publicity stunt more than anything. But now we enter in the pru and proper Betty von Furstenberg. These two were from two completely different worlds. She came from yachts in the south of France, and he loved to party with older men because he had daddy issues, and he loved to gamble, and he apparently hung out often with prostitutes. Doesn't specify that he hired the prostitutes, but at least the men in his circle were definitely hanging around with prostitutes. And he was like, Betsy, you are not allowed to talk to the prostitutes, okay? Behave. Don't talk to the prostitutes. And she was like, well, what else am I supposed to do? It's just me and the other prostitutes, even though I'm not a prostitute. And he was like, well, sweetie, it ain't gonna happen. Anyway, she wanted to be an actress. So similar to Elizabeth Taylor and the publicity string that she brought to the Hilton family, Betsy thought that she was going to gain that same sort of notoriety, and this would really help her acting career. So great publicity for Betsy, bad for her well-being. Nick was drinking a lot, starting to mix pills. The magic pill at the time was called Seconal. Everybody was taking it from Cary Grant to Marilyn Monroe. It's what took out Judy Garland. So it was the pill of the time. It was a downer. Apparently people would use it to help them sleep, but it was also very common to be mixing it with alcohol. Well, Betsy ended up joining the club, and it was all thanks to Nick's doctor dealer, who was writing prescriptions for anyone that needed it. She was taking downers to help her fall asleep because she was having trouble falling asleep. Nick had really bad insomnia, so that's why he said he was taking it, but it was also very addictive. So she would take them to help her fall asleep, but then she needed to be up and alert first thing in the morning. So then she started taking uppers that Dr. Dealer ended up prescribing her as well. So she was just mixing all sorts of pills. And ultimately, the life was just a little too much for her. And she ended up ditching Big Dick Nick. And she was like, I can't do this. It's way too chaotic. His lifestyle remained chaotic, often being dragged into other marriages. He was labeled, or like being dragged into other people's marriages, not his own, but he was like often cited as like the reason somebody's wife was cheating. They're like, oh, you're sleeping with Big Dick Nick. And Big Dick Nick was like, I didn't sleep with anybody. And then they're like, yeah, sure, Big Dick Nick. You really think we're going to believe you with your big dick swinging around everywhere? Nope, not going to happen. Hi, Dustin. Hi, Hamilton. Thank you for the first super chat on the YouTube. Thank you, Hamilton. I appreciate you. Hamilton says, happy Tuesday, Zach and the Zach Pack. Yes, love these juicy book reviews. Well, I love getting to spend my Tuesday nights with you guys. So thank you, Hamilton. Then we get into chapter 23. And chapter 23, Connie point has grown Hilton brand. We know it's Conrad. He's the head of the Hilton clan. He has grown the family Hilton brand into an international empire. They started taking their business overseas. Meanwhile, Nick was still partying it up with every lady he could lay his hands on. And when he couldn't get a lady, he ended up finding himself a pet duck, which I know sounds really weird. And everybody around him was like, why do you have a pet duck? And he was like, I found the duck in the streets and the duck became my friend. And this is my friend, Mr. Duck. And everybody was just like, okay. And he would parade the duck around everywhere he went. He would go to parties. And then, you know, if they had a pool, he would keep the duck in the pool. So I was like, what the duck am I reading? But everybody else seemed to be okay with it. And this just seemed normal, you know, the same way people have like ferrets. And Justin Bieber had what, a bobcat? Didn't he have a bobcat? That was the thing for a minute. So yeah, people apparently they were popping pills, drinking drinks, and walking around with ducks everywhere. He continued to spiral. He ended up starting to bring down the Hilton family reputation, which Connie was not a big fan of because Connie wanted to make sure that they maintained their reputation. And Big Dick Nick was just not doing that. He was tarnishing the family name. Then we get into chapter 24. Nick's womanizing became like major headlines, and he was constantly in the tabloids, and he especially loved being taken care of by women, according to his exes. So he was constantly being talked about with all of these women, and he would get really drunk and he would like getting taken care of by them. And that seemed to be the sentiment of, you know, what his relationships were with all of these women. And then his next serious relationship ended up being with the woman named maybe Mammy. I think it's Mammy or Mamie Von Doren. Oh my God, can this bitch stop hammering some shit next door? God, she has to be hammering real fucking hard because I can hear it through these walls, and these are some thick walls. So when I'm getting laid like Big Dick Nick, Big Dick Zach, I'm hoping you can't hear me now that I think about that. Anyway, Mammy, I'm assuming it's Mammy. Nobody wants to be named Mammy because isn't Mammy like what you call your grandma? Nobody wants to be like, oh yeah, Mammy and bad, you know. No, thank you. I know Big Dick Nick had daddy issues, but that's not, I'm sure what he, or mommy issues, but I'm sure that's not what he was going for. So anyway, Mamie was dying to be a star, and dating Nick Hilton was obviously sure to help because he was a tabloid fixture, just like Paris Hilton. And eventually, he like became very enamored with her and asked her to marry him. And she was a little hesitant, as was Connie, who's Nick's dad. He was like, I don't trust these gold digging hoes. No way, Jose. But with all these wives that he was bringing in, Connie was very skeptical of it, trying to preserve the family money, wanting to make sure that she didn't blow it or didn't come and take it, because every time Nick got married and got a divorce with settlement, he would give them some equity in the business. But anyway, Mamie didn't last long either. She apparently despises Paris Hilton now. She's like, ugh, that family, they're all trash. None of them are educated. And then when she was interviewed for the book, she was like, ugh, Paris Hilton, what a bitch. What is she famous for? She's famous for nothing. She's famous for being famous, just like Marilyn Monroe. And who likes Marilyn Monroe? I'm just like, somebody sounds bitter. These names, Van Hooker. I love your review, giving us the juice on a Tuesday night. Yes, Lauren, that's what I'm here to do. Hi, Storm Doris. Hi, Lily. Let me give some shout outs before we get into chapter 25. She seems pretty boring. Yeah, she was. Hi, Darcy. Thanks, Tyler. I don't feel like I look great, but I appreciate the compliments. Hi, Katie. I'm loving book club. I'm loving book club too. House of Hilton. For those of you that are just joining in, we're recapping the final chapters of House of Hilton, and it is good. It is. The book so far has been wildly riveting. And this one, even though it was a little slow in the first couple of chapters we're breaking down today, because they really just kind of recap all of Big Dick Nick's relationships, the ending is what really is kind of like the sinker that really kind of hits you in the jugular. And it's like, okay. Birds of a feather flock together. I know that's right. Did Nicky date Leo? Leonardo DiCaprio? I don't think Leo was born at that point. I met Leo close up and personal. I don't know who we're referring to when we talk about Leo. I love new no filter content. Yay! Thanks, Katie. I love new no filter content too. Okay, everybody seems to love the Big Dick Nick. Big Dick Nick seems like Pete Davidson. It seemed like everybody wanted to bang Big Dick Nick, and he's like the equivalent of Pete Davidson now. Because Kim Kardashian said, "I heard about that BDE, and I was DTF." So seems like he was Pete Davidson before his time. This is the best book so far. Yes, Mama Lamb, I agree. It's been so good. It's been so juicy. Okay, then we get into chapter 25, and this is where we meet his next ladies. And first we have up Joan Collins. Why we even talk about these ladies? They're really not that interesting. But anyway, she didn't particularly enjoy Nick for long, also noting that he was racially bigoted, and that's part of the reason she didn't want to date him anymore. Then came Natalie Wood. She had her eyes set on Big Dick Nick, and she succeeded. The two were inseparable, especially in the bedroom. They had a very hot and heavy relationship and a very hot and heavy sex life. Though they never actually married each other. They were always like coming back into each other's lives, and they were just like, the two that just couldn't quit it. So apparently the dick was that good. But anyway, she had a rather promiscuous reputation, and her mother seemed to be very similar to Big Kathy, who was a stage mom, often encouraging her to put out, and put out she did. And she was known as quite the hussy, and Big Dick Nick liked that quite a bit. Then we get into chapter 26, and here is where it starts to get juicy. Okay. Sorry, we had to break through the other chapters first. They weren't that great. That's why the recaps were really short for those chapters. But anyway, chapter 26 is where it starts getting juicy because we got it. Nick is a drunk. He likes to gamble. He bangs every woman he can, enthralled in all sorts of tabloid scandals. But he was also secretly into astrology. Okay. And he had an on-call psychic. Okay. And it was a psychic that would also advise to Joan Crawford. Someone mentioned my eyebrows. Thank you for the eyebrow shout out. Joan Crawford also had some pretty stark eyebrows herself. So one day he called up his psychic and he's like, yo, psychic, can you come over? I think I need a reading. And the psychic is like, yeah, bitch, I'll come over and give you a reading. And so the psychic thought, actually, he didn't specify why he was inviting the psychic over. He just invited the psychic over, and the psychic assumed that it was going to be for a reading, okay? Because like back then, I don't know if Cosmopolitan had all the astrology readings where you'd like, ooh, what's in store for me today? You couldn't go on TikTok and have like a card reader be like, this is what's in store for you today. Love is coming to your life, and on June 24th, you're going to come into $1 million. Double tap this post and follow me to claim your earnings. That wasn't a thing back then, okay? So the psychic comes over, and the psychic's like, okay, I'm ready to give you my reading. And then he's like, the door's open. And so the psychic walks in, and guess what? Guess what Mr. Psychic finds? He finds Nick naked in bed with Troy Donohue, a man, naked together. I assume they weren't playing swords. Like, I assume they were trying to, put the gopher in the hole. But Troy Donohue was another Hollywood beefcake actor who was rumored to be gay. And that Henry guy, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but what's his name? Rock Hudson. Remember him? And he was secretly gay, and he had the agent that was hitting on everybody. Well, Troy Donohue was one of the clients that ended up getting taken advantage of by this agent because he was also gay, and he was one of the beefcakes back in Hollywood, but he kept denying that he was ever gay. But it's pretty gay when you're found naked in bed with Big Dick Nick. Like, that's pretty gay. You're going to go for the guy with the biggest dick in town, and surprise, you happen to get Big Dick Nick. And if you see pictures of Big Dick Nick, he was quite a cutie patootie. I don't like big dicks, but he was cute enough that I might be like, let me see it. Let me try out that BDE. Don't think I would be Kim K DTF, but I might roll around in the hay and let a psychic walk in on us. But anyway, apparently Nick ends up confiding in the psychic. The psychic's name was John Cohen. That he likes to sleep with men too. He wasn't only into women. He was also a bit of a hoe. You're a hoe, you're a hoe, you're a hoe. Just like Leah McSweeney called all the Real Housewives of New York. So he was just a hoe, but he only saw himself settling down with the woman. So he's like, even though I like to slip it in the manhole, doesn't mean I'm gay. It just means, I get horny. Yes, Philly Diva, we all love some BDE. We like the BDE, not so much the BD. The BD, like, as long as you have the BDE, I'm good. I can do without the BD, Anyway, it does make me think that, like, maybe this is the reason Nick was so angry and so violent, and he drank so much, and clearly he had daddy issues. Maybe he was, like, secretly in the closet. That's a very real possibility. But then we get into Nick's second wife, Trish Mcclintick, which is weird. You would think her name would be like McClinton or something, not McClintock. Mcclintick. I don't know. To me, that doesn't sound like a very common name, but whatever. She was very young. Her parents were adamantly against this marriage. Her mom considered it to be her first marriage. So she's like, don't worry, sweetie. This is just your first marriage. And it is what it is. And we're just going to have to deal with the fact that you want to date this much older man and you're this young teenager, whatever. What the hell is going on? They're doing like full on construction next door. And I'm like, I didn't even know we were allowed to do construction. I'm about to bang on the walls and be like, shut up. I'm trying to do an Instagram and YouTube live and they're distracting me next door. It's like Big Dick Nick is banging somebody in the room next door. Whatever. Anyway, Trish's mom and her dad did not want her to marry Nick. Even Natalie Wood, who we know couldn't, she kept hitting it and quitting it with Nick. She even advised her not to marry him because he's not the marrying type. He drinks too much. He gets violent, whatever. Well, like a good teenager does, she ended up marrying him and defying everybody. And in the book, she's very clear that she doesn't think that Nick was gay, even though he liked to sleep with men. He was definitely not a homosexual, because homosexuals don't sleep with men. Or I don't know what her logic is. Whatever. Anyway, she thinks that Nick just really didn't have much respect for women, which is probably why he ended up using them the way that he did. But he also used men too. But apparently he used men for sex, but used women in a different way. And she thinks that it's part of the reason he had such interesting relationships with his parents and was always trying to seek their approval. He certainly liked women. He just had zero respect for them. But she seemed like a good wife, seemed a little bit naive, but she seems to be the only one that stuck it out with him until the very end. Nick was no prize. She was a little quick to ignore the red flags, but, the best of us do, right? She liked to turn the other cheek when he would disappear at the Playboy Mansion. And to this day, she's like, well, maybe something happened. And I'm like, maybe something happened? He literally would get drunk and disappear at the Playboy Mansion. Pretty sure something happened, and I'm pretty sure he didn't care whose hole it went into. He just wanted a hole. But anyway, they stayed married, had kids, seemed like one big happy family, all on the outside. Then we get into chapter 27. Here, now that Nick seemed to have been a little more settled, he was finally being welcomed into the family business. He became vice president and seemed to be very excited now that he had his father's approval. He was working for the company, even though he didn't really seem to be interested in hotels. He really just wanted daddy's approval. And daddy's like, okay, fine, you can come to the business, whatever. You seem cool now. Okay, you can sit with us. So Nick, though, was still hooked on Seconal, the pills that he was popping. Trish did not like that. She was like, this needs to end. She ended up dumping all of his pills, which nearly killed him since he was so heavily addicted and the withdrawal was so intense. Sorry, guys, my aligners are like really annoying today. And I'm having a hard time like talking with them. So if I'm like fumbling on my words or slurring, I promise you, I'm not lit. I haven't had any alcohol tonight. But my aligners are just like really tight today. Anyway, she ended up dumping all the pills, hoping that it would help him kind of get rid of it. And then um, she ended up having to wean him back on because she called this doctor and she's like, he's like really sick. And I dumped all his pills because he's such a loser. And all he does is like, you know, all he does is take these pills and drink and get violent. And then he has guns and he's playing with his guns. I'm like, this is not cool. And I'm sick of it. And the doctor's like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's a really strong drug. You can't just be like taking him off so abruptly. You have to start to wean him off because you can actually kill him by removing them a little too quickly. So she had to wean him back on, and then he ended up remaining hooked and addicted. They separated briefly, but stuck it out. That seemed to be a pattern with them where they would break up and get back together, or they would separate. It's not a full breakup, but they would separate and then get back together, and then separate and then get back together. He was then promoted to look after all of the Hilton overseas business ventures. His addiction to Seconal was really strong, though, and it was starting to affect him. He had really bad insomnia, and if he didn't take it, he would literally be awake for days. Yes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Make a Xanax smoothie. Yeah, Katie, it seemed like it was at least a Xanax smoothie. Wait, I'm late. Who are we talking about? Tater Tots, we are recapping House of Hilton. We're talking about Nick Hilton, who is Paris's great-grandfather. Or great-uncle, I believe. Great-uncle. But yeah, he would literally be up for days if he didn't take his pills. And then he would crash and then he would be out for days. And it was just a hot mess and he couldn't get his shit together. And then out of nowhere, his mother ends up suddenly passing away right before she turned 60. And he was devastated because obviously he loved his mother. He was very close to his mother and she didn't make it. Then we get into chapter 28. Hilton International, which is what Nick runs, became very lucrative for the Hilton brand, all thanks to Nick because he was a very good businessman. Even though Connie kept him out of the family business for a long time, he was actually very savvy when it came to business. But anyway, Connie ends up coming up with an idea to have a merger with TWA, which is Trans World Airlines, because this is when Pan Am was popping off and he thought that it would be a good idea to give TWA Hilton International, which would essentially put Nick out of a job. He ended up getting like a vanity title from the merger, but Connie went through with it despite what would have potentially happened to Nick, or despite that Nick would then essentially be cut out of the business. But it apparently all came from the recommendation of Baron, who's Nick's younger brother. And so Baron was apparently, super shady spaghetti and just didn't want Nick a part of the business, wanted him to be cut out, didn't want him to be successful. And he just wanted to be the only prized apple in Connie's eyes. What was his title? Do you know? He started off as vice president, and then eventually he became dude that oversees all international whatever. And then the merger happened. They gave him a vanity title to sit on their board, but he's like, a vanity title of being on the board essentially means nothing. Being a board member, depending on the company or the business, either means something or it doesn't. And in this case, it didn't mean anything. So Nick was really heartbroken about it because he was blindsided. He didn't know the merger was happening. He didn't know that his father was basically selling off his portion of the business. And so when it actually happened, he was completely just distraught over it. And he ends up writing his father this letter, venting all of his feelings, demanding or begging, not even asking or demanding, but just begging for his respect. And he's like, yo, dad, what the fuck? Why can't you just accept me for who I am? Why can't you let me be in this business? You clearly like Baron, but I'm here too. And I actually made this business profitable. And I think it's screwed up that you just gave it away to some other company. Connie never responded to that letter. The death of his mother, the loss of his job, the icing out from his dad and his brother, It all really sent Nick into a spiral, and he began drinking even more heavily than we knew him to be drinking before, mixing pills. He was on uppers, he was on downers, he was downing whiskey. Like, he was just doing all sorts of self-destructive behaviors, or engaging in self-destructive behaviors rather. And then eventually he tried to commit suicide by slitting his wrists, which was awful. And this is when Trish, his wife, then begged the Hiltons to intervene, and she tried to help get Nick treatment. They all ignored her. She tried to set up an intervention. Barron never showed up. Connie ended up showing up, but was totally couldn't be bothered, kept ignoring her, didn't want anything to do with this supposed intervention that she was trying to have, because I don't know if it was that he didn't want to believe that his son really had a problem, or he didn't believe in people having mental health issues. It's unclear what his resistance was, or if he was just trying to be a tough love dad because he thought his son needed some more tough love. But Nick's psychiatrist ended up suggesting having him committed committed involuntarily, having Trish be the one to have him committed. She just couldn't bring herself to do it. She didn't want to have him locked up. She knew that would make him angry. She knew that it would probably make him resent her. So instead, she tried to have the tough love approach, and she gave Nick an ultimatum to either get help or to lose her. Ultimately, he lost her, and they ended up separating, but she hired nurses to look after him. They were having a really tough time with him because he always found something wrong with all of the nurses. He fought with all of them. He would scream at all of them. He mainly didn't like the ones that were Black or gay, and would use slurs against them. Hello, Kathy Hilton. Apparently, all of the accusations of him being racist and homophobic appear to be true. We do know that people that are secretly in the closet also tend to hate gay people because they're secretly hating themselves. But whatever, he continued to spiral, often getting loaded and playing with his guns, which really frightened his family, frightened Trish. He then came up with the bright idea to sue his father and his brother for stealing the business. You stole my goddamn house. You stole my goddamn business. This is where Kim Richards got it from. So he decided he wanted to actually sue them. And the lawyers were like, this may not be the best idea. And he was like, no, I want to do this. I want to do it. Then we get into chapter 29, which is the final chapter. Alicia, girl, you got to keep up. You've been here since the beginning. You keep throwing questions at me. And I'm like, girl, I've been breaking this down. Get out the notepad, get out the pen. Right? Who is gay? I missed it. Nick is gay. Nick, not gay, but he was sleeping with men and women. So likely bi or just horny. Who knows? Anyway, we get into chapter 29, which is the final chapter of the night. Though separated, Trish still hadn't officially divorced Nick, but she kept begging him to seek help. He would refuse to seek help. I don't know if it was a pride thing or what it was that kept him from actually going into, at the bare minimum, Alcoholics Anonymous, which he wouldn't do that either. Then one morning, she ends up getting a call from their accountant, and Nick's dead. His death certificate read that he died of cardiac arrest from a heart condition that he'd been battling, which is what the press ended up running with. They also ran a story that they thought he shot himself in the head, which wasn't true. Trish says that he never had a heart condition, and this was all his father Connie's attempt to hide the fact that he had accidentally overdosed and was struggling with substance abuse, which is really sad. But of course, Connie's like, I want to protect the family name. I want to protect, the family reputation and the brand, and people can't know that he was struggling so badly with addiction to the point where he overdosed. Like, that's embarrassing. So we're just going to say that he had a heart condition that he'd been struggling with for years and that he died of cardiac arrest. And so he got his doctor to sign the death certificate saying that that was what happened. Trish ended up blaming Barron for Nick's death, since he's the one that killed Hilton International, which is the wing of the business that Nick used to run. Obviously, that was coupled with losing the mother and now losing his wife because she was threatening to leave him while battling with substance abuse. So Trish was left broken, distraught, beating herself up for not having him committed, and ultimately left with nothing in Nick's will. He ended up having her removed from the will because she had decided to separate from him. He did, however, leave money and a trust for his sons, making sure they were taken care of. Connie, years after he died, ended up admitting that the TWA merger, which was the merger where he sold off Hilton International, was one of his worst business decisions, and that he later had plans to buy back Hilton International, which I believe he ended up doing. So listening to Barron and allowing Barron's like ego and blind ambition to get the best of him ended up hurting the Hilton family business more than it helped them. And it ended up hurting Nick because Nick ended up losing his life. Then 4 years after Nick's death, Connie finally had a full-on breakdown, admitted that he was too hard on Nick, that his ex, Zaza, would often tell him that he seemed to be in competition with Nick, and Nick's his own son, so why would you compete with your own son? It was really sad, but Connie finally had that moment where, he acknowledged that he wasn't a great father, and he said that Nick was always the brightest of his 3 boys, and that he wished he didn't make him work so hard for his approval. Eventually, Connie died shortly after his 91st birthday. He died of pneumonia. I believe it was about a decade after Nick passed away. That's when Barron had taken over the business at that point because Connie was not fully all there. He sat on the board, but, Barron was the one that was really pulling the strings at that point. Then in Connie's will, he left $750,000 to Barron. This is the Hilton brand, right? They have millions upon millions and millions of dollars. All he left his kids. Barron got $750,000. His son Eric got $300,000, and then his daughter Constance, who he had with Zaza, he left her $300,000. So of all 3 of his kids, he left them less than 200 or less than 2 million. Sorry, out of all the millions that he had, only 2 million was divided up amongst his 3 living children, since at this point Nick had passed away. But his 24.7 controlling interest in the Hilton brands ended up going to the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation, which was all to be used for charity, which is what God would have wanted him to do, because we know he was very religious, right? He loved Jesus. Ooh, yeah, he left them with pennies, Kenny, sorry. We need a book club story rundown for the Richards family too. We did that. We broke down the Richards. That was the first few chapters the first section of the book was dedicated to the Richards family. Now, the second section of the book is dedicated to the Hilton family specifically. But we did get into the history of the Richards family. That was even more wild than the Hilton family, let's not lie. Barron later ended up suing his father's foundation to get the money that he felt that he was deserved. He ended up winning all of his millions that he wanted. One of the Hilton advisors actually testified in court saying that the reason he left his kids with so little money is because Connie never wanted his family to live off of the Hilton fortune. He wanted them to work hard and build their own fortune, something that Paris Hilton ended up doing, since we know even though she's considered an heiress, she wasn't actually an heir to any of the Hilton wealth. They all kind of had to build it and become successful on their own. It was really good. And then we have the epilogue, and the epilogue really just goes into the building of Paris Hilton and talks about like how she capitalized off of her fame. She capitalized off of the Hilton name. She capitalized off of having a, controversial brand and identity. She put, Nick and all of his scandals to shame with all of her scandals and her sex tape and her fighting with people and getting arrested and beating up Lindsay Lohan and all the things that we remember reading of her. She put him to shame, but she used that and capitalized off of that and ended up building an empire for herself, from her perfumes to her books to her music. Now she's a DJ. Now she has documentaries and reality shows. And, she really was able to capitalize off of that. And the book kind of talks about that and how the business savvy that came from the founding fathers of the Hilton business is ultimately what was instilled in Paris. Whereas we see like Nikki Hilton, her sister, and even her brothers, they're not very business savvy. They're, they married rich or are living off of their parents' money, but Paris is really the only one that has built a successful business for herself. Thank you, Tia Vasquez, for the super chat on YouTube. Really appreciate you. Happy belated birthday. You're like a friend to me that I've never met. Aw, thank you, Tia. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend. I had a great birthday weekend. I had a great birthday week. So very, very grateful for all the love that you've shown me, and very grateful to you, Tia. Thank you. RJB says Mamie Von Doren dated Howard Hughes, did a lot of movies but never made it big. She was a sex kitten, but Marilyn Monroe beat her out of the studios. Beat her out. Beat her out. I thought you meant like beat her in the streets. I was like, damn. Yes, I am pretty sure that was the case. She never really took off, which is why I think she pulled the publicity stunt of dating Nick Hilton, because she thought that would help catapult her career. Katie says this book is a wild ride. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Malnick says ultimate male toxicity within a family. Yeah, I mean, I guess this was the era for that male toxicity. No Insta badges on. Sorry, guys. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with Instagram, or why there are badges sometimes and why there aren't badges. I apologize. I do appreciate the love when you guys send it, though. I really do love you. Yeah, Paris made a name for herself. That she did. That she did. Lindsay deserved to get beaten up. Okay. I'll just have to order the book. Good luck finding it, Melanie. Apparently people were having a hard time finding copies. I do know it's available on Kindle. So you can get the ebook, but the hard copy or the paperback copy, it's out of print. It's been out of print for quite some time. So people have had a bit of trouble trying to find it. But if you don't want to find it, you can just watch all of our book club recaps. There are 5 recaps now on Instagram and on YouTube, so you can check those out. Get the full recap for the full book available now. There's a whole playlist on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/justplainzack, where you can actually watch all of our Bravo book clubs, not just House of Hilton, but we have Dorinda's book, Margaret Joseph's book, Lala Kent's book, Erica Jane's book. We recapped The Pretty Mess, and that was wild. Oh, Lord Jesus, that's wild. Zach, you did a great job recapping the book. Thank you. Thank you for bearing with me, guys. I know, listen, I'm up so early in the mornings. I'm up like at 5:30, and I immediately like go into meditation and work out, and then I'm working the entire day. So by the time I tape at night, sometimes my brain's a little wonky, especially because for House of Hilton, there's no audiobook, which is normally what I do for Bravo Book Club. I'll read the book, I'll skim through it, but I like to then, right before going live, listening to the audiobooks and polishing up my notes. This one I could not do audiobook for. So I would literally sit there and read through all of the chapters, put my notes together, and then immediately go into taping these after a full day of work and, being up at 5:30. So I apologize if I get a little flustered during some of these lives late at night. I'm not a night owl, guys. You guys know I'm in bed by 10 o'clock, 10:30 max. I'm out. But thank you for bearing with me. Why has no one hit the like button? Only 35 people have. What? Rose Ellis, hit that like button, guys. If you're watching this on the YouTube, smash that like button. Leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of this final book club, what you thought of House of Hilton altogether, and what book you want us to recap on Bravo Book Club next. There are plenty of Bravo books out there. Let me know which book you want us to dive into. There is another Hilton book. This was House of Hilton. There's another one. Not sure if we want to get into that one. I know that does have an audiobook, so maybe that might be an option. Maybe we'll get into it as we get closer into the Kathy Hilton stuff on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills this season. We'll see. Some people have said, let's read Rinna's book. Some people have said, let's read Diana Jenkins' book. Those aren't like actual books, though. Like Diana Jenkins' book is like a coffee table book. It's mostly just like photos and photography. So I'm not really considering those as solid options. I want books that are actually like, core books, meaty books with like actual substance to them. So let me know. The Bravo Book Club about Phaedra from Angela Stanbury might be a different last name. Sounds juicy AF. Oh, interesting. Okay. That could be a contender. What else? Great job, Zach. I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end either. This was a super juicy one. I agree. But yes, guys, if you are watching this and you are enjoying this, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, we do Bravo book clubs every Tuesday nights. We go live, and every Thursday nights we spill tea live. And then we have new podcast episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have news episodes on Mondays. Wednesdays, we have unfiltered interviews. And then Fridays are the rebroadcast of our Thursday night lives. So 3 fun episodes that you guys get to enjoy, should you want to. Thank you for your recap. It's been so entertaining. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. Read the book about Danielle Staub. Ooh, Cop Without a Badge. I didn't even think about that. That would be kind of interesting, right? Doing Cop Without a Badge and then having the author of the book come on and do like a something with me, you know? That might be kind of fun. That's a good idea, Tia. I got you, gorgeous. So happy to find you live. First thing I did was hit the like button. Thank you, Rick and Deb. I appreciate you, Rick and Deb. Yes, Cop Without a Badge. Cop Without a Badge might be kind of fun. What do you guys think? Let's see. What's Instagram saying? Oof. Oh my God, you guys are blowing up the live chat. Sorry. I was paying attention to the YouTube. If only Kim had written her book. I know Kim Richards' book would have been so good. Could you imagine? That would have been juicy. I still want to interview Kim, but I don't think Kim is doing well right now. She's not well, bitch. Not well. You've done such a great job with the recap. Thank you, Melissa G. I appreciate that. How about Brandy's book? Oh, that might be kind of fun. Since we have Ultimate Girls Trip coming up, we might do Brandy Glanville's book, Drinking and Tweeting. That was actually good. I read it years ago. I read both of her books, Drinking and Tweeting and Drinking and Dating. Drinking and Dating's like juicy because she talks about like all of these dating and sex stories. I don't know if people are interested in Brandy's dating and sex stories, but Drinking and Tweeting was interesting because she talks about her finding out that Eddie Cibrian was cheating on her with what's her name, Leanne Rimes, and how she found out, and meeting and her DUI and using her credit card to like get herself vaginal rejuvenation. Drinking and Tweeting is actually pretty good. That if you guys are interested in that one, I wouldn't mind going back and doing that for Bravo Book Club. Cop Without a Badge is definitely an option as well. Drop a comment below letting me know what book you want us to read for Bravo Book Club. I'll put up a poll on Instagram, and maybe we'll put up a poll on YouTube as well, letting you guys vote and decide what you want the next book to be based off of, what everyone sends in. Maybe Joan Rivers, not sure if anyone's interested. Love Joan Rivers. I think a lot of her recent books, though, were more of like comedy essays and not real like juicy, meaty books. I know Melissa Rivers wrote the Book of Joan, which might be a bit more a bit of an autobiography. I don't know if anybody here would be interested in a Joan Rivers book. I just had Melissa Rivers on the podcast. She was great. I think that would actually be kind of interesting. I thought Kim Richards' book was going to be released in October of this year. It was. Well, it was supposed to be released in October of last year. Then it got delayed till this year. And then the publisher squashed the book altogether. So that's a bummer. Zach, I get notifications for all your stuff. I literally love you. Yay. Thanks, Katie. Awesome recap. Thanks, Pow. Hi, Tones. Hi, everyone. Just stopped by to say hi from Happy Hour. Love you all. Yay. Tones is at Happy Hour again in Liddy City. Love it. Love you from Texas. Love you too, Monty. Carlos King said on Juicy Scoop that he had crawled under the table. Yeah, I read that in Not All Diamonds and Rosé. That was a good book. We did that for Bravo Book Club too. Ooh, look at Husky Love and Teacher dropping 3 badges. I guess the badges are on the YouTube, or sorry, on the Instagram. Brandy is so funny and she's totally unhinged. She's excellent TV. Yes, she is. I think we should do Brandy next. Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Husky Living Teacher. I appreciate you. And thanks for the birthday wishes. Yes, let's do Brandy's book. Okay, you guys, Drinking and Tweeting, New York Times bestseller. Yes, it was. Aviva's Ghostwriter book. No, I'm not interested in Aviva's book. Leggy Blonde. No, thank you. Okay, so everyone seems to be in agreement that they want to do Brandy's book next. There aren't any new Bravo books, or maybe I'll scout Amazon and see if anybody has any exciting books coming up. I'm not really interested in like Garcelle's book. I'm not really interested in Craig's book. I'm trying to think of like the ones that came out recently. We did Stassi's book. That was good. Bethany's book was actually good because it was juicy, because there was a lot of like housewives stuff and housewives tea in there. But I kind of already recapped it on the podcast. I don't think we need to necessarily do a full deep dive into the like book club series. But I think Danielle's book and Brandy's book are strong contenders. Let me know if you have a preference. I'll put up a poll. We'll try to get 1 or 2 more titles thrown into the mix, and then I'll put a poll up and you guys can vote. All right, guys. Anything else before we wrap? Before I make myself some popcorn and chill? catch up on some housewives. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for Bravo Book Club. I love you. I appreciate you. House of Hilton was quite the fun ride. We read Dorinda's book, my love. It's in Bravo Book Club. So it's on the playlist if you want to go back and get those chapters. We did do Dorinda's book. All right, guys. Thank you. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Show some love. Show some appreciation. If you guys want to do something sweet, if you're enjoying the podcast, leave me a nice review on Apple Podcasts. They really do help. They are really nice. I got a 3-star review because someone's like, he's really smart, but like I can't quite put my finger on what it is about him I don't like. And I was like, that was really mean. And then someone else gave a 1-star review because they're like, don't do your live episodes anymore. But people love the live episodes. Did you guys not enjoy this? Seems to be one of the biggest hits. People love live episodes more than they love the pre-taped episodes. Yes, we will do After Party Kenny G. What shows are you most looking forward to? Ultimate Girls Trip. Duh. Cannot wait. This Thursday. Let's get it. But yes, if you guys do want to support, please leave me a nice review on Apple Podcasts. They really do help. They really do mean a lot to me. They help the show grow. They help, new listeners find out what the show is about. So please make sure you mention what you love. I love the lives and the podcast. Thank you, Dee Marie. Love Live with Vodka. Oh my God. You mean After Party with Vodka? That I don't have any vodka. I got vodka for my birthday and then I left it all at my mother's house because I'm like, I'm going to leave the vodka here at your house that I can drink it when I come here. So I don't drink it when I'm home because then I'll get Liddy City and go on Instagram Live. And then that's going to be Bad News Bears. Anyway, we will do After Party. I am going to make some popcorn. We'll chill and chat and shoot some shit and have some fun. But come into After Party with like questions or things you want to talk about. Because our last After Party was a little lackluster. Nobody really had much to say. You're my favorite. Love from Australia. Thanks, Vanessa. All right, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. I will talk to you. We have a new podcast episode dropping tomorrow with Chloe Veach from The Circle and Too Hot to Handle. Very juicy. We talk all about sex and dating, so it's very scandalous. I open up a little bit about my dating life recently, so it's kind of fun. Then we'll be going live again this Thursday, like we do every Thursday at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. All right, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Have a good night. Bye.